still really young.
I thought you were too kind.
Oh.
Well, how much are they paid?
Yeah. You're still really young. I mean,
are you about to ask me for some money?
No. That's a fault. That's a fault.
What's this costing?
Yeah. So, man, what do you see out there in the future, Dan?
You know,
I mean, you got 20 more years of this.
I don't know. And that's what, but I know that I am having fun. I've always had fun.
Yeah.
I've always loved my job. Yeah. I mean, even the times where I'm, you know, cleaning up a wreck at 4 a.m., I've always loved my job.
Yeah. The sense that you've come a long way in 20 years, how do you, that corporate culture, how do you share those stories with the troops? I mean, is that something that motivates them? Is it something you use to motivate them?
It is.
Guys, we started 20 years ago. We were 3 people. Here we are today. How do you share that?
We do that a lot. We have 3 big parties a year in our organization.
Okay.
And we get all the troops together. We pick a day or try to pick a day where every associate can show up. And I share that story then and there, so that they hear it from me. We'll go into facilities and share the story. I mean, a lot of our associates know how that started. A lot of them have been with me for 10 years, 10, 15 years.
Wow, wow.
But it's good that the employee knows that story. Just like you said, it motivates.
It's a culture. It's a culture. Okay. On behalf of all the bankers and recovering bankers in the room, let me congratulate you, because we don't believe in luck. We believe in what Coach Lombardi said. Luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity. You've prepared and you've taken advantage of the opportunity. I think it's fair, Glenn, if it's all right with you, if we allow a little bit of time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience, because this guy's been through it.
There's still some out there.
I'll ask you a question and start at your training process. With that many employees and the nature of the work that you do and being spread out as much as you are, what kind of a training process have you put in place? Because I would think that has to drive a lot of
It
things.
is it's an ongoing, that's HR and training is the biggest. I mean, at the end of the day, it's either clean or it's not clean. We all know how to clean, okay? What we have to do is express how we clean. The employee will come in, we do training in the office, but they do a lot of field training. Our supervisors will grab them, work with those employees, I think, for 3 nights. And hopefully at that time they get it or they go be successful someplace else. But training is a big one, because my industry, we turn employees over. Even, what is unemployment? What's the latest? 9%, 10%? Where are we at?
Less than 10.
It's higher?
9.5.
9.5. I mean, it was, what did it get here, 12? We had them flying through our doors, even at 12%. And that's our biggest hurdle. I mean, in my business, that is where the rubber meets the road. That's what makes us different, is our training processes, our hiring processes. 3 years ago, I didn't have an HR department. 4 years ago, I didn't have an HR department. Now that HR department is inundated every day. We're managing, people 150 miles from here. So training is a big one. That is. If you ask what I do, is every day I'm like, look, well, how did this person get trained? It's a lot of work. Good question. Go ahead.
How are you, with your staff, you say you have over 200 employees, how much of those are in field versus in your office, would you say, administrative-wise?
Where the, touches, Bradley's taught me a lot here, but the people that touch the work is what our cleaners, we have 195, and then the rest are be management and staff and all. I mean, my staff in the office is still 6 people.
So most of them are out touching
Right.
customers, cleaning office.
Yeah, absolutely.
How has technology affected your business, better or worse? What have you implemented to,
It has
over
been
the last 20 years?
perfect question. I think that has put us in a different category. I've always reached out to technology. I've always been huge on that. I remember when I was the only cleaning company around that had a cell phone. Yeah, and I remember that. I would talk to my competition, and we would swap stories. I'm like, man, have you got a cell phone yet? Like, no, we just can't. So for instance, our team has been using this since '97, but it's a system where the employee comes in to the chamber if they're cleaning this facility and clocks into our mother system at the office, and we can watch that. We've been using that for 15 years. Some companies are just now coming in. The employee can't clock in from their phone. If they try to clock in from their cell phone, it flags one of our supervisors, and they come out to the facility, and everybody's like, whoa, what in the world's going on? How'd you know that? So, I mean, we've been using that and I think that right there, 15 years ago, was making my life way easier. Because I wouldn't have to worry about time cards and people lying on their time. Now, there's still people that'll kind of try to finagle that a little bit, but technology has been huge for us. We can go into a facility now with a smartphone and do an inspection on that phone of the facility and download it to a software system where the customer the next morning can pull up their inspection. Little things like that for these large corporations love to see that. And I've always welcomed any kind of technology. We go to an industry show every year, and man, I'm always looking for the latest gadgets. That's a great question.
How do you present yourself to a prospective customer?
It's usually a bottle of wine. When I walk in, present.
You just like you've had quite a bit of success with presenting yourself, even with your back clinic, which is pretty big,
Right.
Even at the beginning. So it has to be some of the way you're presenting what you have to offer.
It varies. We did a presentation yesterday in South Georgia in Barron County, and I've learned a lot of this from this guy here, but you fill the person out immediately. I mean, we all live in a world full of people. You can address that however you want, but we're all human beings. I try to fill out the situation that I'm in and adapt to that situation. I know it sounds it's not giving you and I just become on the same level as what I know that person's going to be. Does that help at all? I mean, you go in thinking one thing, that you're going to express it this way, and that person's not that way. You've got to adapt.
What makes Beck Janitorial better than the other guys?
Our systems. There's no doubt about it. I had that question asked to me yesterday. Our systems. I mean, we are, again, technology, cutting edge technology. Dennis McIntyre told me 4 or 5 years ago, you're going to have problems. I mean, we're in business. We're dealing with human beings, but it's how fast, how quick you can address those problems. If we have a problem in this county, and we do, I mean, out of that many facilities and that many employees, we have problems. I mean, but we can address those problems pretty damn quick. I mean, I can have a manager, if I've got a hot customer, I can have a manager there in 15 minutes.
Danny, I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned Dennis by name and Brad by name and other business leaders by name, and that's because I believe you've over the years you've built relationships with them. What impact have they had on your personal and business growth? Having access to people that you could learn from.
And that is a great question. Guys and gals, there are questions that you're going to have in business. Don't be afraid to ask somebody. That's the biggest thing. Candace, I think we talked about it at Mama Lucia's not too long. people are scared to reach out. If you're in business, it's either pride or they're scared to reach out and ask somebody. I have always, I mean, Dennis and I have been good friends for years. I've always picked his brain. Bradley Down, I mean, I'll pick your brain. I mean, don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, that's the biggest, you know, if I could go back, you know, we were discussing that night. If I could go back to 1991 and look ahead the next 8 years, I was scared to death to come to a chamber meeting. It's like, man, I'm going to walk in here and they're going to know I'm an idiot. They're going to know I can't go in that building. You know, those are smart people. I mean, they're in business. Don't be that way. Don't be so damn serious. I mean, I still come to after hours meeting and have some guy walk up to me, how you doing? And he crush my hand. I'm like, what? Don't be so damn serious. I mean, we're all trying to just get it done, but I mean, that's very common. And, you know, it's been, as you know, to answer your question, it has been remarkable to have mentors, to have best friends that kind of guide me without knowing they're guiding me, you know. And now I do that. If I've got any kind of question, usually I'll just call somebody. I mean, I'm not this wizard that started a cleaning company and has made it. I've had help. I mean, it's people within this community. It's Candace. It's the chamber. I can lean on the chamber if I've got a question. If I'm going after business and I know that they're chamber member, I can lean on the chamber. I lean on everybody I can to help us be successful. Very good question.
Danny, you're talking about, did I interrupt someone? You mentioned several things that you struggled with in the beginning, cash flow and things that you just didn't understand. What do you think the chamber could do to better help folks starting a brand new business?
That's a good question, but I think, my personal opinion, we have to make it more inviting for that. And we do a great job at the chamber, but we have to be where the small business is not afraid to walk in that door. And I know that there's a bridge there that we have to build. That's just my personal opinion, that because a small business looks at the chamber and goes, man, that's just, one day I'm going to be in that door.
You're looking to improve your business all the time. What are you doing to improve Danny?
I spend a lot of time with Danny. That's a great question. I am a father and a husband. I mean, that's anybody knows me. I spend a tremendous amount of time with my family. We take trips. That's what regenerates me. I love working out. I love doing some form of exercise. You know, taking care of me is what I have to take care of me to make other things happen. I've always been a firm believer in that. You know, me ain't here. That's my little kid said, me ain't here. So yeah, that's a good question. I'm a firm believer in taking care of myself and taking care of my family first, and God. You know, all three of those things are a big, vital part of my business and myself.
Okay. By your own admission, being not voted most likely to succeed in school, looking to encourage younger people who are getting into the business, what was it that motivated you? And I'm sure your teacher wrote on your paper, Danny, you could do much better, you know, if you applied yourself. What was it that motivated you at one point to say, I can build this? I mean, it seems like you had no motivation at one day, and then within a year you had this great driving force behind you.
Good one. I don't know about no motivation. You did graduate. Yeah, I did. I did, yes. I redirected my motivation.
Yeah.
You know, I have kids come through the office now. I can't believe I'm saying I want kids, but you know, at the end of the day, I look back and I think, what was the magical? And I know what it was. It was I worked. I got off my ass and I worked. I had a work ethic. You know, that's, to me, is what you have to develop. if you don't develop a work ethic, that's what I preach to my children who are way too young, but you have to work. And if you work hard at something, you're going to be successful in one form or fashion. You might not be a millionaire, but you will be successful with yourself. You'll be successful with your family. Is develop a work ethic. Now, what turned the corner for me was cash. 1991, I went out to the rich neighborhood. This is what I called it back then. It was called White Oak. And a lady hired me to clean her carpet in her house. And I was like, man, this is great. I'm going to go out there and show them stuff. I had an orange shirt with an embroidery on it that said Beck Services, because I left the janitorial off. And I went out there and I cleaned her carpet, and she handed me $100. And to answer your question, that sparked me like no other. I could not believe I spent, I don't know, hell, I might have spent all day there. I don't know. I might have made $2 an hour by the time it was all. But I could not believe that I could do that in this. I just blew me away. That started it. I mean, I know you guys are here, but it's nice. Cash money. It's like, man, do I need to tell somebody I just got this $100? I was just blown away. But that, that redirected me. I was like, man, what if I did this to 4 houses a day? And it sparked me. It really did. And I've always been a big delegator too. So then I was able, like, man, if I get this guy, it's like Amway. If I can get this guy under me, and he can go out and clean, just like it spreads out. I was like, but I can tell you too, and I don't know how much time we have, but I have been redirected so many times in my business. The next biggest thing, I'll get away from janitorial. I've owned an herb shop. I've owned a motel. I've owned a producing kind of filming thing. I've been so many times pulled away from my business, and if there's one thing that I could go back and do is wipe out all that stuff. I feel like we are growing, but if I would have stayed focused